Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Our first warm-up story about a phone scammer. I think you'll like it. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Beat a scam caller at his own game. So for the last 3 weeks, at least 3 times a day, I get a scam call from this dude claiming he installed security software on my computer and there's been a breach, etc. Everybody knows the drill. This guy leaves like 3-minute-long voicemails repeating the same 30-second spiel over and over. It's annoying. I called the number back a few times just saying, "Hey dude, I know it's a scam. Stop calling." He always sassed me real hard. Yesterday he got in my face and said, "Stupid girl, I'll never take you off my list. I'll call you every day forever." Okay. So I thought, I have an idea. I just kept calling him back and saying nothing. I could hear him yelling through the receiver. Once he'd hang up, I'd call right back. All in all, I blew up his phone for over an hour. I called him back 44 times in 1 hour. After the last time, he was screaming nonsense and said, "I am blocking your number. This is harassment. You will never contact me again." Sounds too good to be true. No calls today, and usually by 3 p.m. I've gotten 2 already. Feels good. And our second story. You just pump until we tell you to stop. I work at sea and occasionally deliver dry bulk, think dry cement, sand, etc., to the clients and their contracted vessels. This is done by using large air compressors to press up 60 to 70 psi, 4.1 bar, the bulk storage tanks, 2,500 cubic feet, 70.7 cubic meters, and then force the dry bulk out of the tanks through our piping and then into the client's receiving hose. The hoses tend to jump when product is being shipped, and you have to keep people away. This large volume of compressed air and product is definitely a hazard. A busted hose is a very bad day, even if no one gets hurt. It's a mess. Think of this scene in Volcano where the kid says, "Everyone looks the same." Several years ago, there was a shift in the technology and a boon in the market which allowed the delivery vessels and clients' contracted vessels to be upgraded from older systems that used 30 psi 2.0 bar to the 60 psi systems mentioned above that we use today. Occasionally, we would go to a client vessel that had not been upgraded and use the old 30 psi systems. It is standard procedure to politely warn the receiver that we are equipped for 60 psi, and this was their opportunity to let us know their limitations. One day, we were given a call by the dispatcher and told us to make haste to a location and deliver cement. We get underway and arrive on location within the next day and begin paperwork and radio calls to facilitate the transfer. Now, in this industry, as with many other industries, there's one guy that calls the shots, and they usually have their head so far up their own butt that they're their own human centipede. This guy was a shining example. He asks what's taking us so long to get in position. This process takes at least 2 hours, but there's no reasoning with him. His emergency takes priority, and he curtly suggests we ignore the rules and get the F in position and start pumping some G-damn cement. Okay. We get into position, the hoses are made up, and we're about to begin. He is painfully impatient, and no amount of wordsmithing will convey just what a pain in the butt this guy was. We on the delivery vessel are professional and take it all in stride and do our best to be inhumanely polite to each of his terse replies on the radio. The last straw, though, was when we warned him of our increased pressure capabilities. His dry bulk receiving system was definitely low pressure, and we wanted to confirm so we could make arrangements to dial back pressure on our side. His very angry and arrogant response was, "Don't you worry about any of that. You just pump until we tell you to stop." Full stop. No problem. We started pressurizing our tanks up to 65 psi and threw open the discharge valves and began delivery. Not less than a minute later, we hear poof from inside our bridge, and to our horror and wonder, there is a cloud of cement somewhere over the receiving vessel just out of our sight. All we can see is a haze. I was about to shut down the pump, but was then reminded by my captain that the company representative gave us a very strict order to pump until we were positively told to stop. A whole minute went by before an alien screaming came through the radio, "Shut it off! Shut it off!" above 4 octaves higher than the voice originally. We shut down the pump, and fortunately the wind was against us that day and didn't have any cement residue covering us. The client's contracted vessel, though, cement everywhere. Everything was covered in a layer that even went to their engine room and into their engine intakes. No one on our vessel was ever punished or even questioned regarding the incident, though a couple of us were just sure we were going to get fired. We kept a recording of the radio frequency, though, just in case, but never had to be used. I'm not good with closing statements. And our last story. Oh dear, I forgot the passwords. A few years ago, I got a job working at a scrapyard that collected vehicles written off in accidents by insurance companies over the road from where I lived, so it was really convenient. The hours were 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9 to noon on Saturdays. It was supposed to be admin work, sorting out paperwork for drivers to collect vehicles, dealing with telephones, putting everything onto computer, responding to emails, the usual stuff. I know nothing about cars, shocking for a grown man I know, but am very good with office routines. I'm also pretty good with computers. It was only a small regional operation, and there were 3 of us in the office: a transport manager, myself, and my best friend who I'd persuaded the owner to bring in as she was local and desperate for a job. The owner seemed okay, but was a bit full on. He came down a couple of times a week to sort out the vehicles to be auctioned off and to manage the auctions themselves. He decided that it was going to be my job to photograph the vehicles for the online catalog and leave my friend to do the office work. I wasn't happy about this, as the whole idea of taking the job was to be in the office and not to be outside in all weather. After I'd taken the photos, I had to transfer them onto the PC, then email them to the head office once a week. I also had to do all the online and email stuff, as my friend was clueless about computers. A couple of months passed, and my friend managed to get her husband a job as a driver. His hours were 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and rather than come in to work separately, they decided to come in together, then have her wait till he was finished before going home. This meant she was at work 2.5 hours early and didn't go home until 2 hours after she finished. The owner thought it was marvelous that she worked 4 hours plus extra a day without extra pay, and was constantly on my back about me arriving 5 minutes before my start time and leaving dead on my finish time. He never realized that she didn't start work until after lunch and did nothing after 5 p.m. He didn't want someone who would only work the hours they were paid, and threatened to sack me several times for not being more flexible. After a short while, the owner decided that I should do full vehicle damage assessments on each vehicle along with the photos. I'm not sure, but I believe it's supposed to be a proper trained mechanic who does the reports, not someone who doesn't even know the make and model without looking at the writing on the back. I explained all this to him, and he told me that I'd do it or he'd sack me and find someone else to do it. I tried to do the reports, but apart from obvious damage, I don't know what I'm looking at. Apparently, cars have something called a subframe. I don't know what that is or why it's a problem if it's twisted. More threats of sacking. As luck would have it, I rang a company I had previously worked for to chat to my ex-boss there about his upcoming wedding. I casually mentioned I was looking for a new job, and he said they were more than happy for me to return. He asked me when I could start. This was on Wednesday, and I told him I could start the following Monday. He sent me an email confirming my start date, and as soon as I got it, I started clearing my desk. My friend asked me what I was doing, and I told her I quit. She then went off on a mad rant about how useless I was and how she didn't see her kids because she was at work so much, and how I was going to destroy her family because she would have to take over all my work as well as her own, so she would never get time to herself. I told her she was a useless cow who was too lazy to do any work, and her kids were neglected because she didn't want to walk the mile or so home and would rather wait for a lift from her husband. It got pretty nasty, and I stormed out with all my stuff and was so happy to leave. What nobody realized was that I had password protected the computer I used. The login and the files themselves were all password protected, as were the emails. They only had one internet-enabled machine, and I was the only one who used it. Nobody else knew the passwords, and I had been told to keep them secret for security reasons. I had written them down and kept the notebook with the passwords locked in the filing cabinet. That night, I got a phone call from my ex-friend demanding to know what the passwords were. She was really rude and was calling me some pretty horrible names. I told her to go fornicate with herself and stop calling me. I didn't mention the notebook or its location at that point. I wasn't in the mood to help her out and just hung up on her. I got a voicemail a few weeks later from her abusing me again and telling me it had cost a fortune to pay an IT company to unlock the computer and reset the passwords. She told me they were going to sue me and she was going to be a witness against me, saying she had been nothing but nice and I was refusing to help out of spite. I was unhappy, so rang the transport manager who I was still friendly with. I told him I was sick of getting abusive phone calls from someone I had once considered my best friend. I also told him that she knew where the passwords were located and told him exactly where to look in the filing cabinet. He found them immediately and apologized for the trouble I'd been put through. He told the owner, who sacked my ex-best friend on the spot. When her husband got in, he found out she'd been sacked and had to go with the owner, so he was sacked on the spot too. I found out later they were presented with the IT bill and had it taken out of their final paycheck, so their last month in holiday pay was eaten up by the cost of unlocking the PC. The best part? A year later, the company folded. I don't know why, but I assume it might have been because of the owner's delight in sacking people. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.